Hi everyone. Happy good morning on a Tuesday. Can't believe it's Tuesday. It feels like a week has already passed, but we're flying through summer. My name is Erica and I am so excited to be here with Sandra today to talk about something that's really near and dear to both of our hearts. A little bit about me. I'm Erica. I'm a health coach. I'm a nurse and a neurolinguistics programming practitioner, and I help individuals kind of beat the perfectionist mindset and prioritize their own health. Um, so if you've ever experienced feeling like you have an endless to-do list and nothing that you're doing is good enough, please come talk to me. We can get that a little bit sorted. But I am here today with Sandra to talk about the anger spectrum, because as we know, everything that we do in our brain and everything that we think is manifesting in our body. So Sandra, please, thank you so much for coming and please introduce yourself.
It has been a long time that I have been working with people and their bodies and how they feel in their bodies. I've been a massage therapist for 37 years and doing energy work at the same time. And for all of this time, I find that the issues people have, the struggles, the stresses, the relationship glitches, the ways in which they're not accomplishing what they want to accomplish, it all shows up in their bodies.
Mhm.
It stores in their bodies. And, I loved what you said, Erica, about when you're in this perfectionist thing, it shows up in your body.
Mhm.
So I recently came up with a concept I call the anger spectrum, where I look at the emotions as this spectrum. And so all of the uncomfortable emotions, whether it's actually anger or the distortion of anger, which is rage, or I don't know how, or is this person going to listen to me, or anxiety, or worry, or stress, or just all of the different ways that looks, I call that the anger spectrum.
Yeah.
And so that we can start relating to our emotions as they are happening and experience them, be able to express them instead of stuffing them.
Yeah, it's so important. I think the crazy thing, Sandra, is when you think about an emotion, and I'm sure you like relate to this too, is like an emotion's like 90 seconds. If we actually let the emotion happen. I remember reading a study a little while ago about a rabbit essentially, and it was like, do you remember when a rabbit like freezes and then it like shakes? They're like, that's their emotion. They're like letting go of it. And that's why we cry. That's why we can like get up and dance if we shake it out, whatever it is that you need to do to like release it, your brain will automatically feel lighter. Like it's the stories that we continue to like play around in our mind that end up haunting us.
Yeah. And it comes up to talk about something I call the foundational separation wound. This suppression of emotions starts basically at birth.
Hmm.
You're inside your mother's womb and you're all warm and cozy. Anytime you need something, it's delivered automatically. You don't have to ask for it. And then there's this really intense time and you don't know what's going on. You're kind of confused. And then poof, you're outside and it's cold and it's bright and it's loud and you're separated from your mother.
Hmm.
You're no longer one with mother. And this is a shock. And then anytime you need something, you have to cry, make a fuss, and they don't understand you.
Hmm.
And so what you need is no longer automatically delivered.
Hmm.
So right off, you have this experience of being separate, no
Yep.
longer being connected, of not being heard and not being seen.
Hmm.
Because you go from to, and you kind of have to fight to be heard and to get what you want.
Yeah.
And that's like this fracture that happens at the foundation, at the beginning of your life. And then, as soon as your mother or your father say, stop crying, hush, you, in order to continue to survive, in order to get love, because that's what you need, you decide, oh, I have to do what she says. She says, stop crying. And the only way the baby has to do that is to physically restrain it, like muscle it. So they take their natural expression of emotion that happens as soon as they're born and they start suppressing it. And in all those years of doing body work, very frequently I found that people are really stuck right here. And they suppress not just their expression, but they hold their breathing. They stop breathing.
Mm.
So look at this from the perspective of that little baby. In order to continue to survive, I need these people to love me and take care of me and hold me and feed me. So what do I need to do to make sure that happens? Anytime they tell me to stop crying, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And it's like, ah. And then over and over and over again throughout life, we're basically told to be quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. Who do you think you are? Why do you think you can do this? You don't know what you're doing. And so over and over again, we suppress. When babies are born, they're like just completely natural. And then they become conditioned to fit in to what's expected from outside. And so I call this the anger spectrum, all of the uncomfortable emotions that we can have. Because when I pile up stuff, and then something happens, somebody says, who do you think you are? You did that wrong. And it's like, all of this unresolved stuff blows up. I call this like having kindling. All of this unresolved stuff is like kindling here, waiting for somebody to say something that sets it off.
Yeah. I always relate it to, it's an amazing point that you say around like kids and babies and moms. And so I always think about coming from pediatric nursing, there's always this thing when a baby is born, they say that until they're about 2 or 3, they actually identify themselves with the mother. So like they don't know how to separate themselves with the mom. And in Reiki, which I find so fascinating, I'm not sure if it's come up in your research, Sandra, when you're like looking at the anger spectrum. But in Reiki, around 2 to 3 with the soft spot, I always learned, and it's actually the connection to the universal like energy source, and like that's their connection, and that's why we have terrible twos because it's closing, and they're like, don't know what's going on. This is awful. Like, well, everything was super easy. And like, as you said, like if you're in tune with the universal energy source, things kind of like happen naturally for you and things sort of like happen on this like ease level. And you kind of don't really understand like what people call like the baggage of life until 2 and 3. And that's when you start to like identify yourself. That's when you start to have like your own opinions and people then you're building that belief system. And that belief system, as you said, if you don't check it, can show up in these like kind of they're like the massive blowups or the mental breakdowns that people have throughout their life because they haven't actually addressed any of those little belief systems that have happened along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not crazy, but it's just so important that like to take the time to understand that if your mind is not centered in that way, your body will keep score. There's an amazing book about that. I've read it like so many times, but it's true. Like you can see that there's trauma that kind of builds up somewhere in your body, whether it's, big T trauma as we call it, or small T trauma. It's all there if you haven't expressed it. And the location of right here in Reiki, because that's like your throat chakra. And like
Mm-hmm.
so many women specifically I've seen, men too, but I work more with women, have such a build up here because they haven't felt like they could express or didn't feel like they had the permission to express something for fear.
Yep. And it all starts with that fracture that happens at birth.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the developmental stages. So, until about 6 or 7, everything that happens is like written on the hard drive.
Yes.
And that
Mm-hmm.
is telling you, what does it take to survive? What does it take to make it in this place? And so these little is like, stop crying. Why are you doing that? Sit still. That's all guidance from the people in your life, primarily parents, about what do you have to do to survive. And for the first several years, I don't know exactly when, the baby and the mother, as far as the baby is concerned, are one. They
Yep.
are one unit. The baby is not physically capable of surviving on their own. And it's like they don't know that anything else exists. As far as they are concerned, it's all me. I am you, and you are part of me, until they reach that point where developmentally they're able to start to recognize, oh, there's two people here. There's you and there's me. And that's a clear developmental stage that, I'm not sure exactly when that is, but before then, the baby thinks that they are the center of the universe. As far as they're concerned, they are. Because the baby thinks, I do something and it causes something out there. Something out there that's happening, that's part of me. As far as they are concerned, they are the center of everything. Everything is me. And I cause, and I need to change. If something's not right, I need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you know who feel like something is happening, they have to fix it?
Yeah.
You
It's the
you were talking about, you work with people with perfectionism. It's all part of the same picture.
Mm-hmm.
This is where these things that everybody has comes from. I think it's pretty common, have to do it right, which is perfectionism. I have to do it. I can't ask for help. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. All of these things come from this same basic experience, which is why so many people, again, in like over 30 years, I've seen the same issues come up again and again for people.
Yeah.
And when we don't have the ability or the space or the permission to fully experience what we're experiencing and express what we're experiencing and ask for what we need, then we're stuffing it.
Yep.
And what I work with is pain, helping people to notice that they're in pain, notice why they're in pain, and then release that so that they can be free of pain.
Yeah. It's very meaningful work. And then, like, as you said, it all comes from holding on to belief systems, holding on to things that don't serve you anymore and things that are no longer helpful to your own mental wellness. Because honestly, it's a mental wellness game that we're playing most of the time. Like, starts there, and then it's kind of trickles down into the rest of like, if you look at health and wellness, like, if your mind's not correct or your mind isn't benefiting you, none of the other stuff will matter. You have to start there and then sort of go through each little part of health, whether it's relationships, whether it's food, whether it's, exercise, all that other stuff, but it starts there. And I'm not sure if your research goes all the way back to this, but something I also find very interesting is that if you look at pregnant women and actually the way that their mental illness is and the way that they're treating themselves during their pregnancy will actually impact the baby. And like
Oh, yeah.
that all is connected because they are, as you said, they are the life force. Like, they are helping like they're physically making that baby survive. And so all of that is something that I know I teach a lot of clients with that go around pregnancy of like, listen, like, yes, it doesn't start when your kid is born. It starts when you actually get pregnant and you
Mm-hmm.
conceive a kid.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So I believe that the baby, even before it's called a baby, right, receives everything that the mother experiences. All of it.
Generational trauma.
Yes, absolutely. And it's passed from generation to generation, I believe. And I haven't looked at this in a long time, but they have done studies to see where mothers live a life that's really stressful and there's actually danger, that their babies come out bigger and more muscular, more
Hmm.
prepared to survive and fight for their life.
Hmm.
If a mother feels comfortable and safe and they're not worried about whether or not there's going to be food and they have a partner who loves them and nurtures them and they don't have stress, then the baby is going to come out entirely differently than the mother who has this stress pressure. The baby knows before they are born, is this likely to be a dangerous environment and I need to be prepared for it? Or, oh, I've just had this wonderful, safe existence and life is going to be good.
Yep.
Absolutely. That comes
Yeah.
through.
And I think the interesting part about, and the thing that people don't always connect is that when you think about parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems and that fight and flight, that is you're raising your cortisol. And that could be anything. That could be like, yes, food and hunger, but it also can be like, I'm having a hard time at work. I'm having a fight with my best friend. I have like been like, emotionally eating because I'm stuffing my emotions, as you said, down somewhere. Like all of those things are going to raise your cortisol level, which is going to produce that fight and flight, even if it's not this like um at like as we call like older in time where you're fighting for food or like you're going out and hunting and gathering like that or protecting yourself from a bear. Like, those are not always the stresses that we have today as much, but all of those are stresses. And understanding that that is directly affecting your kid at conception is a huge awakening, I think, for most mothers or mothers to be.
Yes. And so we get to be adults and not consciously thinking about, not consciously aware of where are my responses to the world coming from.
Oh no, not at
And,
all.
I'm an adult and I think, okay, I'm being an adult. And I really have started to look at it and it's like, okay, so here's one adult and here's another adult. And really, this person's like 6 and this person's 8.
Yep.
Responding, making decisions as a 6-year old and an 8-year old. With all of
Yep.
the history that we've just been talking about, building into this person's responses and reactions and defensiveness, and this person's responses and reactions and defensiveness, and acting like I'm an adult and I'm adult, making decisions and talking as an adult, making decisions and talking as an adult, whereas this person's decisions are being regulated by a 6-year old's traumas, and this person's decisions are being regulated by the 8-year olds or younger, whatever, whenever the trauma is that occurred. And it comes up to share something here. So throughout my business life, I've really struggled a lot. There's a lot of things I don't know how to do, which is really required for being an entrepreneur, learning how to do these
Hmm.
things you don't know how to do. And not knowing how has always produced in me this panic, overwhelm, chaos, and desiring to quit,
Yep.
which has led to a real struggle in building a business. And I didn't have memories really of childhood until I was in my mid 20s. I started getting memories back. And one time I was in a craniosacral bodywork session, and I had this memory come up of lying in the crib, looking at the ceiling and crying. And I didn't
Hmm.
know what that meant, right? So I was in a workshop and they have you call your parents. And so I called
Hmm.
my mom and was just talking and I said, "Hey, I have this memory. Let me tell you about it." She knew exactly what I was talking about. She said, "When you were 6 months old, we left you for 3 days with an aunt and uncle. Before that, she had not left me for longer than half an hour. And so I thought, she's not coming back. Where is she?" I cried and she didn't come. And I freaked out. I panicked. I tried everything I thought I could. And I realized that I gave up. She's not coming back. I have to take care of myself. It wasn't until a couple of months ago in a, NLP training that I realized that in addition to deciding I had to take care of myself, I also realized that I have to take care of everyone and everybody else. I'm responsible for everything.
Yep.
Perfectionism to the max.
Oh,
And anytime I don't know how to do something, I don't know what's going on, or I'm confused, I have a response of a 6 month old.
hmm.
Freak out. Get me out of here. Which has led to all of this struggle in how do I build a business? Because anytime I don't know how to do something, I'm out of here. And understanding this just like blew my mind. Oh my God, that's why all of this stuff has been such a struggle.
Yep.
And so now that I am finally with NLP healing all of that stuff, I am able to like redirect my choices, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this. Well, there's part of me that's starting to freak out, but you know what? It's going to be okay. And then make a different choice. It's
Yep.
changed everything.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's incredible to hear someone express it. And like, I think most of us who have done the work, similarly myself, have a story that involves this almost awakening of control or this awakening of like letting go and like being like, you know what? Everything's working out for me. Life will be easy and changing the narrative because it's really the narrative that we're creating that is rooted in some sort of belief that is holding us back from actually our fullest potential. And
Hmm.
as you said, it's always rooted in kids. Like I went through a really terrible divorce as a kid that rocked my world because I had no idea it was going to happen. That's what manifested my control and my like need to fix everything because everything else felt so chaotic in my life. And so that manifested for many years until again, you go through the work and you like pull back the layers and you're like, oh my gosh. Oh, well, I don't actually have to do everything. I've got plenty of people around me. I can ask for help. Help doesn't make me weak. It makes me stronger. And it's okay not to know something. It's okay not to like feel like I have all of the answers every time and as you said, like building a business is a perfect example when a lot of that kind of stuff goes up or like at moments where you feel overwhelmed is usually when these, as you said, these anger spectrum, these like emotions that have been unresolved sort of start to populate. Because you're like, because it's all triggers that will send you back to wherever you didn't resolve it last time.
Yes.
Always, always.
Yes. And you and I both do NLP. And so we
Hmm.
know that when something comes up in my life that's not working the way I want it to, what is it I have to learn that's being projected
Hmm.
out onto my world?
Yep.
And so, what's the opportunity in this situation?
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at it from an opportunity perspective
Hmm.
switches the game. And I think the important point, which you and I both mentioned in like what you just said, I think that is it, is it's the opportunity to learn because everything that we face is an opportunity to learn something new about ourselves, to learn something new about, our tendencies. And most people that don't are not interested in this kind of work is what you said is the 8-year-old adult like functioning as an 8-year-old kid because they've looked at it as like, I'm fine. I don't need to investigate that. It's fine. It's fine. And they're living in this pain or they're living in this world of limit because they don't feel the need or don't understand the need to do the actual reflection. And reflection is huge.
Yeah. So I purposely didn't introduce myself at the beginning because I just wanted to start into something. So I'm Sandra Lee, and I've been a massage therapist for over 37 years, doing energy work. And now I am doing primarily online stuff as opposed to in person. Limited in person is available, and working with NLP. So, working with these belief systems and helping people take the pain that they are in from all of this stuffing that Erica and I have been talking about and finding out what's really underneath that pain.
Yeah.
What is this stuff they got stuffed inside that is all this things based in happening like when you were really small, that foundational stuff that's what shuts the circuit breakers off for people.
Yep.
You know, I've always said I have a 6 year old that shuts my circuit breakers off. Anytime there's something I don't know how to do, it's like, you're not doing that. So if you have these kinds of pains, whether they're physical pains or mental, emotional pains or struggles, then I would love to be able to help you clear up your anger spectrum stuff that got resolved so that you can live today, like being real in the moment with who you are and what you want to say, what you need to do. I used to have like these explosions of anger myself. I used to be angry for weeks at a time. I'm glad I don't do that anymore because now I mostly live now. And it's so much less stressful, so much more real when I can be who I actually am. So if you want to be more of who you actually are, Erika works with nutrition and food and NLP and all that stuff. And I work with energy healing and some body work and all these things to help us be more ourselves, really being seen and healing that childhood stuff that had you feel like you couldn't be seen, you couldn't be yourself, that led to this suppression of who you are so that you can be real. Make the difference you want to make in the world.
Yeah, I mean, such important work, Sandra, and I think, as you said, it's we're two sides of the same coin in the way that things work, and I think at the end of the day, if there's anything that I think is something that people should take away is the concept of like you can live the life you want. You are more than capable of setting your life up in the way that you've actually desired it if you take the time to unlearn and to actually recognize some of these triggers, some of these thoughts that are continuing circling around in your head and be here, be now, be not in the past and also not in the future. Like people are on both sides of that all the time. And it's trying to separate that space to let our mind just be right here, right where it wants to be. Um, and so I know that you are writing a book about the anger spectrum, correct? So when is that coming out?
I don't know.
Take some time. I understand that.
But I am working on the anger spectrum book. Yes, absolutely. So tell people how they can connect with you.
Yeah. I am available on Instagram at health_wellness or health e by Erica. Um, healtheitherway.com. And that's the best way to connect with me, Instagram or Facebook, Health E Wellness. But yeah, that's the best way to connect with me. What's the best way to connect with you, Sandra?
The best way to connect with me is to get my gift, um, the Happy and Harmonious Relationships Worksheet. So that's shinewithsandra.com/happy. And that will get you my newsletter and all of the other stuff.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This is so fun. I'm so excited to read your book. I can't wait for it to come out.
I just need to finish writing it, which is a process, right?
It's always a process. That kind of stuff
Perfectionism
takes
comes in
time.
there big time.
Well, I wish you the best of luck of being very cool, and writing with ease throughout the process. And please let us know, please let me know when I can purchase it.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
All right.
Bye.